Hello everybody, welcome to our third episode of The Week in Technology. I'm Karamjit, your host, and my co-host is the lovely Aishah.
Hi.
Hi. Again, as usual, by now most of you know our standard operation, which is we will start off with the question we get asked most in the week, which is on our cover story for the coming week. And for this coming Monday, our cover story, which is March the 16th, cover story is going to be on Basis Bay, Datuk Praba Thiagarajah, and the company that is built. Basis Bay is basically a shared services and outsourcing company. They've remodeled themselves into that. They started out in 1997 doing disaster recovery and in the refurbishment and services of second-hand hardware, which could be your servers, which could be your PCs. They've grown that into a multi-million-dollar business. Multi-million, yeah, I thought I was going to say multi-billion. Not yet. Multi-million-dollar business, and they're on the verge of listing also. Although Prabha is a bit coy about giving us the date of the listing and when it's gonna and which stock market it's gonna hit to, but that's the story we've written on that. Both me and Aishah went for that. Aishah, what are your thoughts on Datuk Praba and his game plan?
Listening to him in the interview, I get the sense that he's quite a rebel because he keeps referring to not fighting the MNCs, but trying to prove that Malaysia can do better than MNCs, and how there's a slight imbalance when it comes to MNCs in Malaysia, because normally the private and the public sector would normally lean towards MNCs when it comes to their servers and their software, stuff like that. So he's very gung-ho about that. So I get the impression that he must have been quite a bit of a rebel when he was young.
Okay. I think this is one of the companies that we're going to hear a lot about in the future, in the near future even, because they've done a really good job. And I'm impressed with the management team he's built up. He's got some really high caliber people with him. And I think these guys will help him take the company to the next level. The comment that I thought was interesting, that there's, of course he's got this grouse about, Malaysian-made products still being seen as inferior. Readers of Net Value will know that this is a common issue we've spoken about, over the years. But it's an important issue that we keep having to bring up, because we have to break, this fallacy that our products, made in this country, made by Malaysians, are inferior, because that's absolutely not true. But we also had another interesting story by on Mike Corbett, who's the chairman of the International Association
of Outsourcing Professionals.
So
yeah.
Aishah, you did this, although we were both there for this 8 a.m. interview in the morning. Aishah, you wrote the piece. What do you think?
Well, what happened was they actually polled their members leading up to the conference, and 45% of those polled actually says that their outsourcing business goes as normal, whereas the remaining says that they're going to push, people are pushing down on prices and volume, which is to be expected. And I think Economist Times in India reported that TCS, Winpro, Infosys are already signing outsourcing contracts 15 to 20% lower than last year. So people already, the customers already saying, we want to drive the prices down. Yeah. So what can you do when they're willing to sign at that low? Wow. However, the sentiment with the recent Satyam cooking its books scandal, surprisingly, the members says that the confidence level hasn't really gone down. In fact, they've accepted this as a natural risk that comes when you outsource. Okay. So because they say that if the auditors didn't get it, how as the customers they wouldn't be able to find it either. So it's a risk that they're willing to take. So outsourcing is definitely still high value at this time. It's just a question of whether Malaysia can compete with big giants like India and China. Yeah,
and I think Mike mentioned that when we asked about Malaysia's niche, and he was talking about what we can do too. So and I will lead down that to the next issue we're going to talk about, which is on the MOSTI forum, which we just came from this morning, because we taped this on a Thursday afternoon at about 3 o'clock, and I think a lot of you know that Net Value's deadline is on a Wednesday night. So this MOSTI forum just happened this morning, so we came from there. We'll talk on that shortly, because there was this word niche came up too. But Mike mentioned Malaysia's niche, and what do you think of what he said about our niche?
Well, I like the part where he said that it's a global supply chain, and there's enough sweet spots for every country to find their own niche. So it's our job to find our strength. And he says that what he sees Malaysia's strengths are its flexibility and openness to work with people. So without, say, like our MSC initiative, foreign companies see it as very low risk. Yes. if they wanted to bring down 100, foreign knowledge workers, they can under our policy.
Yes.
So they see Malaysia as very open and flexible and very easy to set up their business operations. We can't compete on volume when it comes to, like with India and China, but that is something that low risk environment is definitely our niche according to him.
Okay, we'll move to the MOSTI forum now, which we just came from this morning. But I want to touch on this word niche because a lady from the EPU gave a macro view of the economy, where Malaysia is and what we need to do to re-engineer our economy too. And she brought up this, one of the points was that we need to find our niche. And I have to tell you, Aishah, I've been covering technology since 2000, in January. And I've been hearing about this, that Malaysia has to find its niche. But 10 years later, I still don't know what our niche is as a technology, company, or as a technology country with aspirations for that. Whether it be our niche in hardware, our niche in software, or our niche in outsourcing, services. This is and it's not bizarre, it's not puzzling, but we still haven't defined our niche in where we want to play in this space. Whether you want to play in the generic ICT space or in one of the three areas I spoke about.
Could it be that we're always trying to do everything at one time?
I don't know whether that's really the case. I mean, you have different, we had biotech now as a new initiative, but biotech is a 20-year game plan, the time frame before you see results. So we cannot really say biotech is our niche. ICT, I can see us developing something like that, but we haven't just come down and defined, one area where we say, if you think of this, think of Malaysia first, out of all the countries in the world. We still haven't done that, and it's not like there are not enough smart people, driven people, talented people, determined people in this country, to come up with that. But we still haven't, and that's just a puzzle for me. But that was just one of the topics that came up this morning, and I just wanted to bring that up because it dovetailed with Mike Corbett talking about Malaysia's niche. But what were some of the highlights from this morning's presentation for you? Which the topic was, and we had uploaded the form last week, and it was gratifying to see over 200 of you going and downloading the forms. And I don't know how many of you attended the forum, but it was the impact of this financial crisis on ICT in Malaysia. So Aishah, your thoughts, some of the highlights for you this morning?
I was very intrigued with the data that Ms. Yap, actually, or was it Dr. Yap, I'm not so sure, that came out from the EPU, Economic Planning Unit, and it's amazing how the gap that started from 1984, like for example, Malaysia, 1984, between us, Singapore and Korea, our middle income average was about the same, but since 1984, the gap has been really big. So, we're not earning as much and our purchasing power is not that much. So, she came up with all this data, and at the end, the conclusion was we need to work on a new model instead of repairing the old model. And she said that it's going to be a major overhaul, but she didn't really outline the detail of what's going to happen, but it'll be interesting to see what's, because so I think in a way they're kind of admitting that they've done something wrong in the last 20 years, with our economy. I'm not
one
so
of the 5 things she said we need to do to re-engineer the economy and to go to a new model is, creating a pool of knowledge workers, right? Because
but that issue has been around for years already. I mean, and people are still harping it. I really, because
which means we got to do a better job in creating a pool of knowledge workers, and really then it harks back to the education system, from the primary
actually
school.
I want to bring up an issue because I think that true enough that companies are looking for talented and skilled workers, but everybody knows that once you get into a company, from day one, you know zero of the company. You basically start fresh, no matter how skilled you are.
Okay.
So it's actually up to the companies to develop these already skilled workers to bring them further. So it's not really, I don't think it's fully universities and government. The companies need to provide an environment where the workers can be creative enough or even to invest on training for these people. So
brought
it's
up to speed
exactly.
fast.
So I mean, even if you bring a skilled worker into a company, if you don't provide that kind of environment, then your skilled worker might end up being just a robot or a drone, because you don't harness them. So I think it's not just the government and the education. I think the private sector and the public sector, definitely plays a part.
Okay, thanks for Aishah for that. Guys, please, and ladies, get your emails coming in to us. We appreciate any comments, any criticism you have. Like I said, this is just episode 3. Help us to mold the show.
Exactly. Nothing is too
dynamic.
sharp. Yeah, nothing is too sharp and nothing is too offensive. So please send us your feedback.
Yes, exactly. And so great. We're going to end now. Have a great and productive week ahead with technology, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.